Hello and welcome back to the final part of the, stand by, Hispano HA-112 K-1L Tripala conversion. In the last episode, the conversion was completed and the model was ready for paint, and that is the subject of this video. And I decided to prime the model. I tend to prime all my models anyway, but the thought has been crossing my mind lately, should I bother? But with all the different materials on this one and all the corrective work, then I thought it's probably a good idea actually. And so I laid down a coat of Mr. Surfacer Primer. It's heavily thinned. It doesn't cover as well as the traditional sort of normal Mr. Surfacer stuff, but I do find it gives a smoother result, and just a couple of light layers, as you can see, and you get a nice even coat ready for paint. And there we are, all ready for paint. Started off with the rudder, and I shouldn't have glued this on. I should have painted this separately. It would have made things a lot easier, but hindsight, eh? All the markings on this model, apart from just a couple of decals on the tail fin, are going to be painted, and it starts with the black cross on the white background. First of all, the male part of the mask was put in place, and then carefully the female part was placed over the top, and then that can be sprayed in black. Just important to get it in exactly the right place, burnish it all down, and then the male part can be removed and we can get spraying. And then once that's all sprayed up, then the rudder can be masked off completely, ready for the camouflage. Not using pure black, it is too harsh, especially against the white background. So this is just MRP black with some NATO black added, and that just sort of kills the depth of the black just a little bit and helps with that scale effect. And then with the drying time of MRP, we can just go in and remove that mask. Lovely result that, really pleased. Now for the camouflage. So these aeroplanes were all over one colour called Barrett Grey, which is quite elusive. This is my first attempt. I just got a whole load of different MRP shades, mixed it up, based it on their RLM02, used a bit of Soviet interior grey green, a couple of drops of a darker green as well, and I did think it was a little bit too pale and too green. So this is the first version, but it wasn't the final version. There are a couple of preserved aeroplanes, well at least one anyway, but it's always a bit dangerous going for that exact tone because it's a preserved aeroplane, so you don't really know. I've got some black and white pictures of this aeroplane, and it seemed relatively dark actually, so I just darkened the tone. Now on the camera it does look very green. But in real life it is very much more grey. I'm just wondering if it's the lighter colour just fooling the eye a bit, making it look green. Almost looks like RLM71 I reckon, but it's definitely sort of grey with a hint of green in it. It's quite a warm tone. I have added some dark earth in there just to warm things up a bit. And I thought, well, I'll use the sort of lighter colour to my advantage and effectively do a bit of kind of like reverse pre-shading. yeah, not entirely successful, and I did go in afterwards with a lighter tone and do my usual post shading, which I much prefer. It gives me, I think, more control and makes things look a lot more realistic in the end. But you can see how I'm just building things up. Removed the cap on the end of the airbrush, so got to be careful I don't bend the end of the needle. But that just helps with the tighter spray pattern and almost like a mottling effect. I could have gone down the dark blue route, which would have been nice, but I don't think actually that dark blue suits this aeroplane as much as the Bouchon. I prefer it in this sort of grey-green colour. There we are, that is the base coat. And here's that post shading I was talking about. So just adding a little bit of a lighter tone in there and just going on over some of the panel lines, picking out some of the details, a few random sort of faded bits. I prefer this softer approach. I have tried those template things with, you know, the random sort of things, but yeah, I don't like it. As I said earlier, all the markings were sprayed, and quite simple, these ones. Red, yellow, red. Initially going in with the red. Now, a lot of this is just so I don't get any yellow kind of overspray at the beginning. So this is just a sort of initial coat. I just don't want any sort of hints of any yellow or anything like that around the edges of the mask. Now I'm actually going with the yellow. I'm trying to stay away from the edge of the mask, as you can see. Not always successful, but I tried. And now we'll see the smaller fuselage one. And then once that's done, I can place the outer red mask, then the yellow mask, which is the middle one, and then remove the outer red one, and then I can paint the red, as you can see here. And now I'm just going to remove these masks. Always a nervous time, because you never know if you've got the registration correct. And there is the advantage of spraying your masks, look. Now for the fuselage codes, just female masks here, out with the off black, and just spraying those on. If you're thinking of maybe starting out designing your own masks, something like that, these Spanish ones are a really good one to sort of cut your teeth on. Very simple. Just 2 colour roundels and single colour fuselage codes. And again, if I just hold that up to the light, you can see the advantage of spraying these markings, preserving all that detail. And there is the base coat on, including a natural metal spinner look. I had a bit of a disaster. Not only did I get this roundel in the wrong place, so I had to sand it down, try and colour match the custom colour again. You can see there the repair and the difference in the Barrett grey. The paint lifted on the markings, which was a right pain, and so I had to go in and touch that up again. And up it came again, this time on the red. Really annoying. I don't know what caused that, but anyway, fixed it, as you can see. Now for a oil sludge wash. Mixed up a tone that was complementary to the underlying colour. It's a sort of a browny grey colour, based on Almo of Mig Starship Filth, but it's a little bit sort of too cold, I thought, so I did add a little bit of brown in there just to warm things up a bit, and this went over the whole thing. Quite often you've got to be careful with these tones that you don't sort of one tone doesn't fit all, if you know what I mean. So you do have to have a little bit of a thought when it comes to different camouflages, markings, things like that. This is a darker tone though for the nose. Obviously this is going to get more oily, fluid leaks, exhaust stains, things like that, and I just wanted to depict that if I could. Doing the wheel wells as well at the same time. And then once dry, and I do normally hit it with a hairdryer just to speed things up, I can go in with a kitchen towel and just polish it all off. I try and go against the panel lines because there is a danger that you can actually rub this stuff out of the panel lines. So you can see it's a glossy surface, MRP is glossy. So you do have to be somewhat careful, not using too much pressure. And it's quite a subtle result actually, even though this is fully riveted. Or dot weathering, one of my favourite techniques, although it can be a little bit tedious, but it's not a big aeroplane, is it? Going in with some highlights here, I normally just use oil brushes exclusively for this. I just find them just really handy. So white in the centre of panels, now some Starship filth for a bit more grime, and then you'll see me in a moment using a bit of black just to enhance the shadow and the grime around the nose. And then this is all going to get blended with a sort of a damp brush. It's not wet, certainly not dry, so mildly moist, I think a certain Jeremy Clarkson once coined a phrase. And what that helped to do is just help blend this oil paint, but not blend it away too much, and it's not going to be too much like hard work, because there is that little bit of white spirit in there just to activate things. So quite a large round brush. And you can see there the darker tone around the panel lines, the cowling fasteners, things like that. And hitting it with a hairdryer. One of my favourite tools on the bench. So after all that, I just go in with this really, really soft brush. I mean, that brush is so cheap, and I've had it for years, and it's just incredibly soft, and it does a really good job of doing that final blend. And there we are. Oil leaks and grunge now underneath. I didn't find any pictures or clear pictures of the underside of these aeroplanes, so I don't really know how oily they got. But this aeroplane was not in frontline use. This one, as you can see, doesn't have any armament on it, so probably used as just a conversion trainer, but they weren't in service for very long anyway. So I'd imagine they're kept relatively clean, but Spain is quite a hot sunny country, and you are going to get some fading effects. So you can see the tone now of the model. It's had a coat of VMS varnish. That's going to dull things down and blend further things in. And now I'm going in with the exhaust stain. Classic mix of Tamiya, red, brown, black, and a bit of tan. And again, I didn't want to go too heavy. It's not that prominent in the photos, but I did want to do some exhaust stain. And then just lightening up in the middle, and that exhaust stain is going to have a coat of VMS matte varnish just to add that little bit of extra contrast. And then what I'm doing here is just going in here with some extra oils, making things a little more dirty. You see that sort of lighter tone there just behind the exhausts. Maybe they've got a lot of lead in their paint, I don't know, but I quite like that effect. Almost there now, finishing touches. Gear legs were shortened, not here at the oleo, which I'm painting with ammo of MIG steel, but I actually shortened it at the other end. They're too long in the kit. It's a bit of a fault of the Hasegawa 109s in 48th. And the final bit was adding the Barracuda aileron mass balances. You have to drill out the hole. There's a tiny little hole in there anyway for the kit part, but they come with this kind of plug on the end, so you just drill them out, stick them in, and they're going to be a lot more resilient. They're 3D printed, they're beautifully detailed, and I'll just touch that in with the brush right at the very end. And there we are. That is it. What a great fun project this has been. So I'll leave you some final photos with some cool music, and I'll see you on the next build. Cheers, bye-bye.
I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah.